Okay, so the first pose that we're going to talk about is Pasasana. And Pasasana is a gateway pose to the Intermediate Series. It is a lot harder than it looks. So in order for us to be ready to do this pose, really there's a lot of poses in the primary series that kind of get us there. So if you're still not able to do Supta Krimasana or Marichyasana D, then you're gonna really struggle with this pose. So keep that in mind as we work through this, and we'll go ahead and figure this out. Okay, so just so you can see how these different poses might prepare us for this, Pasasana is a deep twist. And so for Marichyasana D, as you know, we take one foot into half lotus and the other one comes up. So this is really similar to what happens in Pasasana. So this action of twisting around and binding around one leg is a lot. But in Pasasana, we have to bind around two. So another one that can really help to prepare us for this is in our standing poses, in these side angles. So that action of really twisting around and putting your hand on the ground, this twisting action, finding some length here, this is a really good prep. So all of these deep twists are gonna really help us, and then the rest is kind of our shoulders. So again, finding those binds are really gonna help. So the way that this one will go is you jump forward and you put your knees together. So knees come together. It's okay if your heels don't totally land on the ground. Mine don't. You'll see a lot of people, these really beautiful lean back, both feet, heels on the ground poses. It's okay if it doesn't get there. That's not what's important. What's important is that you get the bind. So when you jump forward into a squat, knees go together, really squeeze these knees together, and then hook your elbow around. So I'll turn so you can see it from the side. So to really get into this, the first thing I'll do is I'll try to hunch down because my legs are shorter than my torso, so I have to sort of crunch. If you have longer torso, or a shorter torso, you may not need to do this, but since mine's a little bit longer. So you put your hand here and really twist, find that nice length here. Try to keep both hips in line with one another as well as these knees. And then I will kind of crawl this hand back, thumbs go down, and then reach around and find the bind. So you're really going to lift your butt up here and really press your heels down. Even if you don't get your heels to the ground, that action is really good to keep your legs strong and to really help open up that twist. So there's a couple things that you want to watch out for. You really want to make sure your knees are in line with one another. So if they come apart this way, which a lot of times that's what happens, or this way, you're at risk for either hurting your knee or throwing your sacrum out of line. So make sure that you're getting knees zipped up together. Everything here is the same. Your only twist should come from your upper back. So this can take a while to get, especially if you have short arms like me. So what I will do, so you can see, I'll kind of find some length here, making sure my knees are squeezing together. Reach my hand around and then try to pin my knees with my arms, reach up and around, and I have to kind of lift and lean and then sink my hips down. So I don't get a very deep bind on this. Try to then turn your head towards the back so that continues the twist. This is not a pretty pose for me, but it's really not about that. So in order to move on to the next pose, you have to get the bind. So really working on opening your shoulders and figuring out ways to kind of get through that. Now, the other thing that you can do is, if you are having trouble balancing, is roll up your mat like so. And then you can press your heels into the ground. This can bring a lot of stability as you're learning the pose. Now, I would not always want this to be here, just because it can be a hassle. Especially if you're in lead class and you're being counted, rolling that mat up might be a lot. Okay, so some modifications for this pose. Modifications are, if you have something going on like in your knees or as you're learning it, one pose that really helps, this Malasana squat with your knees apart can really help be a good prep for this. It doesn't make it that much easier, but if try this, and if you're really struggling here, it might explain that something in your hips that's off. So I've seen people kind of bind around one and then the other, but this is really not recommended. If you go into any Ashtanga class, they probably will not let you do this. So it's just something to like practice. Another thing that I will do is I'll put my knees together and really just like put my arm on the outside of that knee and really press and try to find some length here. So you can really work on pressing that knee into the arm and the arm back into the knee to find that length in your side body. And then you can kind of reach up and around. So these little preps can be helpful. They can help sort of open you up. But again, these modifications are not that much easier than the pose itself, but it can help you find the right length that you need, or to give you a modification if you're injured or if you need something else to kind of like help out. Okay. Now let's talk about the actual whole thing, the transition. So the transition into this pose is, you're gonna start from downward facing dog, and then you're gonna septa, inhale, jump, come into a squat position at the top of your mat. And then Ashtanga, reach around. So you're gonna turn to the left, twist to the left first, find the bind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's no transition or lift up in between. You just nava, inhale, you twist to the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then Dasha, lift up, Ekadasha, jump back, Dwadasha, upper dog, Triodasha, downward dog. So try that, hope it helps.